Hello and greetings everyone. I really appreciate the time that you take to watch my videos. Today I want to talk about autism. Now autism is a huge topic and I just want to give you a few insights into things that I want to have out of the way for future videos. First of all, autism is a huge topic. There are several forms of autism. There is high functional autism, Aspergerian autism, Kanner autism. Sometimes Savant syndrome is counted among autism, even though it's not really true. It's a different thing, but most savants also have autism. There is early childhood autism and a lot of other autism related stuff. Autism is a spectrum. You can have very, very light autism, you can have very, very severe autism, and everything in between. It's still autism. It's like catching a cold and having the flu. It's the same symptoms on different levels. Okay? So you cannot say someone is no autism because he doesn't behave like the stereotypical autist who is usually on the very extreme side of autism. Second, and that's very important to me personally, autists are not the same. You cannot say all autists are. That's like saying all people with diabetes do behave in certain ways. They don't. All people with autism have some traits of the autistic spectrum, and quite a lot actually, because any single person on the planet, everyone, neurotypical people, everyone has some traits of autism. But it's like with borderline, everyone has like 3 or 4 symptoms of borderline, but only when you amass those symptoms, you really are counted as autist or borderliner. So everyone has some autistic traits. And you cannot say someone is an autist simply because he displays 1 or 2 of those traits, like special interests. People without autism can have special interests. They can have island abilities, I think it's called. Isolated things that they are extremely good at. Normal people can have that too. That doesn't make someone an autist. Not having them also doesn't make someone not an autist. Autists are very different. All autists have in common that they all have a certain amount of autistic behavior, but not all of the autists have the same behavior. Not all of them have the autist spectrum to the extreme. Not all of them have all the autistic traits. And some of them only have a few of the autistic traits, but still enough to count them as autists, and some have pretty much every single symptom that you can have. You see, some autists may really not be able to speak, but it doesn't mean that autists who can speak are not autists. Similar with looking someone in the eyes. That's actually something that is a real problem, because so many psychologists still think that if someone looks you in the eyes, he cannot be an autist. That's just bullshit. A lot of autists learn to look someone in the eyes. Most symptoms and assumptions made about autism is based on child autists. And as a child, I wasn't able to look people in the eyes. I wasn't. I was too shy. It was so uncomfortable to do that. But my parents always told me, you have to look people in the eyes. You have to look at people. My teachers told me you have to look people into the eyes. My classmates told me to look them in the eyes when I'm speaking to them. And over the years, I got used to it, and now as an adult I look people into the eyes. I even figured out how long to look people into the eyes to not make them bothered, because it's weird. At first, when I was told to look people into the eyes, I stared at their eyes because I was told to stare, because I was told to look into their eyes, and so I did. And people got uncomfortable and tell me to stop it. And then I stopped it, and then they demanded to look them in the eyes. What are you wanting from me? And I figured out that they want to have some eye contact, but not full eye contact, you know. And that's stuff you figure out over the years. When I turned 16, looking in the eyes was no issue anymore. And actually, when I went for diagnosis, I had a psychologist that said, "Oh, you can look me in the eyes, you are no autist." Even though on the Asperger quotient test I scored very, very high. I was like 3 points from the maximum, okay? So I'm very autistic. I'm for since 4 years now I'm diagnosed, and some other things I've been re-diagnosed and stuff. So my diagnosis was even confirmed and stuff like that. I basically make my money with holding speeches and writing about autism. So I think I know what I'm doing. I know a lot of autists, and very few of them actually have problems with looking in the eyes because they adapted. They were told to, and they learned how to. As a child, my behavior was much more autistic. And you know, when growing up, you learn to cope with things. You learn, you evolve, you grow up. And for an actual adult autist, many of the typical symptoms of autism are not visible anymore. It's still uncomfortable for me to look someone in the eyes. It's still stressing, but I can do it, you know. It's not that much of a problem. And so what I want to say here is that not all autists share the same symptoms and do not exhibit the same symptoms. I know an autist who is a very, very successful career guy, and most of his underlings are actually noticing that he's different and that he's weird, but no one would have thought that he's an autist because he doesn't exhibit the typical autistic behavior. You know, he seems more like a super nerd, but not autistic. And that's actually true for many autists that I know. Many autists I know are super nerds. They're really the epitome of nerdism. And people wouldn't think they are autistic. As far as I know, Bill Gates was tested and found to be on the autistic spectrum. So Bill Gates, the god of nerds, is an autist. And does he display much autistic behavior? Actually, he doesn't. You know, people learn to cope with things. So you can't say stuff like, "Oh, he can speak so well, he cannot be an autist." You know, doesn't really necessarily have to do with one another. There are autists who have speech delay. There are autists who speak earlier than they should. There are autists who don't speak until they are of a certain age. There are autists who never speak in their entire life. There are autists who start speaking much earlier than other children would. There are very rhetorical, well-schooled autists who express themselves perfectly through language. There's just so many differences, you know. And what I want to get across here is that autists are not the same. You cannot say autists are like, that's like saying all people with diabetes are like, or all Christians are, or all Americans are, or all Europeans are. That's just so grossly over generalized. It hurts, you know. Yes, there are some things that autists have in common, but what they have in common exactly is very, very different, you know. Like someone with Alzheimer's, you can't say all people with Alzheimer's do not remember their 30th birthday, because some do, some don't. It's, you know, you cannot really say that. You cannot say everyone with diabetes needs the same amount of insulin. That's depending on what you ate and a lot of other stuff. So such generalizations are just false, and in case of autism, they are sadly often made. And what's even more sad is that in the internet, autist kind of became a swear word, you know. If someone speaks with passion about a topic, they say, "Oh, you went full autist on that." first of all, what's wrong with that? Being passionate about the topic and speaking about it. Can't imagine how that's wrong. And I also can't really see how that's related to autism. Because, as said, some autists don't even speak. Okay? Just to clarify that. And autists can be wrong too. I definitely sometimes say things that are not true. I try to be as correct as I can, but I don't say that I'm never incorrect. I surely am. Sometimes I get things wrong and then I correct my view, you know? And autists, and so many people say, oh, autists have problems with touches and they cannot be touched and they cannot be hugged and they will never have sex and they freak out when they see someone naked, which is totally not true. It's true for some. I know an autist who is also asexual, and she definitely doesn't have sex because she is not interested in it, and she definitely has problems with touching. But I also know an autist who is a sex worker and who does porn. Mercedes Carrera, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is a porn actress with autism. Hardcore porn actress, okay? So that has nothing to do with autism. Some autists hate touching, others seemingly enjoy it a lot. Autists are sometimes interested in computer games. Not all are. Some are. Not all are interested in books or movies or anything. That's really different. And what I want to get across here is that autists are individuals. And if someone tells you that he or she is an autist, that should be as much information to you as hey, I have diabetes. So what does it tell you? It basically tells you that, look, I know I may be weird sometimes, I may behave strange sometimes I may be awkward or behave inappropriate. If I do, please don't get mad at me. I likely don't mean it that way. I apologize in advance because I'm sure that I will make you uncomfortable in some situations, and when I do, please don't be mad at me. Tell me that I did something wrong because I likely won't realize it. I very likely won't realize why you are pissed. So if you are pissed at me, please tell me. Give me a chance to explain myself. Give us a chance to work that out, because if I say something that offends you, I very likely didn't mean it that way. Because if I didn't mean that way, then yeah, I will just tell you, yes, I meant it that way, If I'm too honest to your liking, please tell me and I will stop. Because I can be very honest and a lot of people are offended by that. So please tell me, we can work that out. It's just an information that I do not mean it as you feel it, and thus give me a chance to work this out. So if someone tells you I'm an autist, please just take it as information and do not judge already, because that's a real problem. If someone says I'm autistic, people tend to expect that they are extremely intelligent and extremely awkward, and that they will never have a family, and that they will make you extremely uncomfortable. And in a few cases, that's actually true, but in most cases, it's not. It's an overgeneralization that is not true. It's like saying all black people are criminals, or all black people sell drugs, or all white people are racist, or all Asians are computer experts. It's simply not true. Same for autists. Not all autists are computer experts. Not all autists are highly intelligent. Indeed, there are even autists that are below average intelligence, But that doesn't mean that there are no autists. So you really, if someone tells you I'm an autist, just take it as if someone tells you, hey, I'm black, I may have some issues that you don't, and we can work that out, and really it's just an information. Do not judge on that. I will go into more detail later. I think I'll make a separate video for that. And what you should really get from this is, do not judge someone on saying he's an autist, because that doesn't mean anything in particular, okay? Thanks for watching. See you next time.